Hello everybody, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe if you haven't already and turn your alerts on so you can get all of the up-to-date activity from Move IQ. We've got lots in the pipeline, lots planned, lots coming at you. Today I'm joined by Lauren as part of my mission for first-time buyers and to help and to educate and to inform first-time buyers. The average age of first-time buyers now is 33. We've all got to do something to help bring that down, because first-time buyers are such an important part of a healthy and functioning housing market. Anyway, Lauren, great to meet you. I've heard a little bit about your first-time buying story, but I'd love just to talk it through with you. How did it all come about? Give me the background.
We were initially renting in Wimbledon. We just returned from a couple of years in Australia.
Okay.
And basically returned with the plan to do all the traditional things, like we got engaged on the way home.
Okay.
We were planning to get married, and obviously a house is the next one on the list.
Yeah. How long had you been living abroad?
We were in Australia for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Tough to come home? What was the motivator to come home?
It was just thinking that it's time to buy somewhere to settle down. We're just feeling it was time for some reason,
Okay.
and it just didn't feel right doing it in Australia. It felt that it was needed
Not
to be
home.
near family and
So I'm a huge fan of Australia. I got married in Melbourne and I loved spending time there. So I'm interested, when you moved to Australia, was that we're off to Australia and that's it, goodbye everybody? Or was it, we're going to Australia for a little bit?
We initially planned to go there for about 9 to 12 months. So we were thinking it was more of a sort of travelling experience, that we would, do a little bit of work and fund ourselves along the way. But as it turned out, we both got quite good jobs and got fairly settled, and we really liked the lifestyle, and we had made some good friends over there.
So you had how long over there? A couple of years?
2 years over there, yeah. And then we rented in Wimbledon for I think about 15 months, and then once we had settled into Wimbledon, we started looking. Once we had our jobs as well and we knew where we were going to be based, we then started looking for somewhere to buy. We started sort of working out what our commutes would be based on where we were working at the time, and looking at properties and that sort of area that worked for that.
Whereabouts was that?
Strawberry Hill, Twickenham, that sort of area, southwest London. We started off more in a slightly more central in sort of Richmond area, and then looked at the prices and thought we need to move out slightly. So we did that, and then spoke to a mortgage broker, because at the time we were both contracting, so we knew that would be slightly tricky to get a mortgage, even though we were earning decent salaries. A lot of the mortgage lenders will just sort of say no because you don't have a official job contract. So we spoke to a mortgage broker, and she was actually really helpful and said that we would be able to get a mortgage. It just meant that we had to do quite a bit more paperwork and sort of really prove our earnings. And then actually the first property we viewed, it's just the way sometimes, we decided to put an offer in. Okay. Yeah.
Did it all go according to plan?
At first it did. So I think quite quickly they accepted it, and then we went back to our mortgage broker and said, our offer's been accepted, we want to go ahead and get the mortgage offer in place. And so she started working on that. Yeah. But unfortunately, just because of all of the paperwork due to being contractors, it took a long time, and during that time that it took to get the paperwork sorted out, the sellers pulled out. So we were back to square one.
Okay. Disappointing.
Very disappointing.
Very disappointing. Yeah. But it happens, and I suppose you learned quite a lot on the way, and actually now your paperwork
and then, we got all of the paperwork in place.
Completed.
And, so that was, we even had a survey done on the property and everything, so we were, we were very close to signing on the dotted line. It was, they said that they pulled out due to ill health, but who knows.
So the search went on?
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
So once we basically had our heart set on that particular road that property was on, we just kept our eye on it in that immediate area as well, and viewed quite a few more places, but none of them quite matched up.
And why were you so keen on that specific road?
It had a real sort of community feel to it. It was like a little, what do you call it, like a cul-de-sac, I suppose. And when we'd met the owners of the house before, they said there was a sort of, real neighbourhood vibe to it, and people knew each other, and that was a big, important part of it to me, because I work from home, so I spend a lot of time. It's like my office as well as my home.
Yes, yeah.
So I really wanted somewhere that I could sort of feel safe and happy to be spending a lot of time there, basically.
So the search went on, but actually you had identified...
I kept my eye on that road.
Yeah.
And actually 2 more properties came up on that road. We put offers in for both. One was rejected straight away because they had a cash buyer. Even though we were first-time buyers, we had the mortgage offer and everything in place. They chose a cash buyer over us, which was a shame. And then the other place did accept our offer, but unfortunately again it fell through.
Again?
So at that point, I think we took the hint that maybe that wasn't our road.
Oh dear. What went wrong with that? They changed, they pulled out?
Yeah, they pulled out again. We, did everything that we were supposed to do, but it just, it
happens, I'm afraid. Twice in my life, and I'm not a big fan of moving, I haven't moved loads, but twice in London, I have identified a particular road, and indeed a particular side of the road, and gone, that's where I want to live.
Yeah.
And I you can do it in a big metropolitan place, you can't do it in villages and that kind of thing, but because many of our Edwardian Victorian houses, they're all built at the same time, the streets were all built the same way, and yet they've been adapted in the interim to suit people's tastes and lifestyles. But I always felt that if that was where my budget could buy me the space that I wanted in order to move, and I liked that street, and I wasn't in a mad hurry, then be fussy about the street, but then don't be fussy about the house. So I love the fact that you identified a street and then offered on several houses that were on it, because the location was clearly more important to you than the house.
Yeah, it was, definitely,
Given the job that I do and the programmes that I present, location, I'm really sensitive about location.
Yeah.
Because you can change the house.
Yeah, that's so true.
Anyway, I'm waffling on. Back to the story. So 2 or 3 didn't go your way.
Yes, yeah. And this was, must have been towards the end of 2015 now. We got married at the end of 2015, so when we initially started looking, we were really hoping we'd find somewhere before we got married, but didn't work out that way, but it's fine. We were happy renting in Wimbledon. And Christmas 2015, I actually got so keen, I went and gave Christmas cards to everyone on that road and said, if you're thinking of selling, we're interested.
Well done you. Did it produce anything?
It didn't, no. But
well, that's really proactive though, I love it.
I think when you really want something, you just have to try everything, and then at least you can rest assured that you did all that you could.
Yeah.
So, then, so this early 2016, we found, we were still looking and keeping an eye on the market, but it was a really quiet time of year. But a new build came onto the market. We hadn't really thought of going for new build, but also it was quite appealing because we're both super busy. We work really hard, we work long hours, and if we took on a renovation project, I could see that it would take a long time and not necessarily be a nice place to live for quite a long time. The new build was quite appealing, but when I went to have a look at it initially, it was still a shell. Hadn't finished it at all. They were still putting the stairs in. But
was this in the same area that you'd originally started your search in?
Very nearby. Like a sort of mile away.
So you saw it as a shell.
And I thought it would work. So it took a bit of imagination. Had to convince my husband a little bit, so he came and had a look at it as well. And it's very unusual actually to find a new build in that particular area. So it's kind of quite lucky from that point of view.
It's quite a benefit to find a new build when it's a shell. Yes, you have to use your imagination and sort of creativity to think what it's going to be like. But were you able to have any influence over the floor or the kitchen or the wall colours?
They had kind of already decided most of that, but luckily they chose something that was fairly neutral and nice, and that we could sort of tweak a little bit as we wanted to. We've sort of made a few changes in the kitchen and stuff. But
tell me about it. Flat house?
Yes, 3-bedroom house. So it's already had the loft converted, so it's on 3 levels. It's got a separate office room at the end of the garden.
Nice.
So that's my office room, which is really nice because basically my commute is to walk to the end of the garden and then walk back.
Lauren, can I ask, how relevant to your decision to buy the house was the office space at the end of the garden?
It was a deciding factor in that particular property, because I knew working from home pretty much all the time, I needed that separate space. I couldn't be working at the kitchen table all the time, or sitting on my sofa with my laptop. That's not really.
More and more people are working from home, and it's interesting that the developer building a little shed at the end and calling it the office, actually that was very much the deciding factor in your choice to bid for the property.
Yes, yeah.
So, he made the right call.
Yeah, it's almost like you get an extra room, but as well, it's just nice having it quite separate from the house. And its own little.
But I think it's a lesson to maybe people watching this, if they've got a garden and there's room for an office, actually, when it comes to selling, that's a huge benefit. Yeah. Or a granny annex, things like that. The planning authorities are super keen to see annexes and granny annexes because it helps solve issues in the housing market, in the wider housing market. So anyway, so you walked in, you saw it, you persuaded your husband it would eventually be what it is. And was the process quite smooth after that?
From there, it was compared to the other experiences we had. We already had our mortgage offer in place. We knew it was at a sort of budget that we could afford, and also still have some money left over for furniture and decorating and stuff. So I think we saw it. It must have been January 2016, and we moved in May 2016.
Okay. Yeah. And everything worked out well?
Yeah, it has been really good being in a new build from the terms of we've not had to do anything to it. We literally just got all our stuff transferred from our flat, put a bed in, and it was all ready to go. And the heating, it always stays really warm. So that's been good.
Is there anything that you would have done differently?
I do still wonder about that original road. But the prices kept, at this point in the market, the prices were going up almost month over month, and they were sort of going, beyond the budget. So I don't know if we would have actually been able to just about afford it, but then, what do we do with for furniture and stuff? Because we didn't have anything coming from a flat, so, yeah.
And did, moving into a new build, I've never done it, but I have helped clients into it, but of course I then don't see how life goes once they've got the keys and they've moved in. But what about curtains and cupboards and shelves and loo roll holders and all of the little things
that's true.
that originally occupied home would have, but of course a new build doesn't.
We didn't have any of that. We started off with those really horrible suction blinds that you have.
Have you changed anything while you've lived there?
My dad's quite handy, so he's come and does some tiling in the kitchen for us just to add a bit more colour. Because being a new build, basically it was all kind of quite beige and neutral, so we've got a bit of blue in the kitchen now. We painted my son's room just before he arrived, as new parents do. So that room looks a bit different. But apart from that, I suppose we put in fitted wardrobe as well. I didn't have
storage
wardrobe. And things like toilet roll holders and little bits and bobs like that. But
it personalises it and makes it yours. Any plans for the future? Do you think it'll see you for a few more years?
We're planning to stay there for a few more years probably. It's been really nice because it's 3 bedrooms, so there's me, my husband and my 2-year-old son. It's been really nice that if needed, family can stay over in the spare room that we've got at the moment and help out with my son. That's pretty, that's felt like a luxury. If we do grow our family, it might be something we miss when we look to move again. But
did you think about schools and that kind of thing when you were looking?
I did look into the schools, and there are some good ones nearby. I mean, even though my son's 2, it still seems like a long way away.
Yeah, but it's going to come around quite quickly.
I did look into that, and again, that was something I looked at with the original location as well. There was a really good one.
A good school can put 20% on the price of a house, and so it's very difficult thinking, well, I'll buy there. But it's 20% more expensive, and I don't need the school. But you're going to want to need the school. If that is part of the plan.
Something I've learned with where I send my son to nursery is definitely having somewhere that's walkable in walking distance is a huge benefit, and not having to do the school rush, driving in rush hour traffic and trying to park is it's a huge benefit actually. And although it doesn't seem necessarily relevant, like when we were looking, it's very quickly become relevant. So
it's very difficult to kind of look into the future and fast forward your life. But actually, when you're house hunting, that's a really important thing to have a go at doing. You might not get it right
Yeah.
completely. But you must think it's not what suits me now, it's what's going to suit me in
Yeah.
18 months, 3 years, 5 years' time.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to choose a house that's going to suit a lifestyle that you maybe don't even want right now, but you probably think that you will
try
want.
and plan for it, because even if you just think about stamp duty, it just doesn't make sense to keep moving. Like, that was my thought, oh, maybe we could just buy somewhere and live there for 2 years and then move on. But with the stamp duty cost, it just doesn't make sense. You've got to make that longer term commitment, which is difficult for me because I do, we like being able to move around. But trying to find somewhere that ticks as many boxes as possible is...
I've described it in the past as it's like a jigsaw. You'll never get the whole picture, but actually you've got to fill it as best you can around all the different elements of your life and hope that it can change as family life evolves, which it very naturally does.
Yeah.
And has the area and the community panned out as you'd hoped, because you didn't know it that well? Yeah,
it has. It's been a bit different since I became a parent. So my son is 2 now, and I returned to work when he was 7 months old.
Okay.
What I found difficult was basically taking him to childcare and then coming back home to work by myself, not having anyone to talk to. I had virtual colleagues, remote colleagues, but it's not the same as having someone there that you can just sort of bounce ideas around with, and found myself talking to myself a little bit.
Yeah. How did you deal with it? How did you change things?
I started, I found sort of talking to other people that other people were experiencing a similar sort of thing, and I thought it was a bit silly that we're all sitting at home working by ourselves, wanting to be around other people, but not really having a way of doing that. Like, you can go and work from a coffee shop, but then you don't actually talk to anyone. You just end up spending a lot of money on coffee and cake and stuff. So that's why I set up what I do, which is basically to support freelance parents like myself with a community. It's called Mumming. It's like a pop-up co-working community, a bit like Airbnb of co-working, I suppose. So we don't have a permanent location, but we pop up in different places. So it might be like a pub or a hotel, somewhere that's generally quite quiet during the week. And we as parents work together, we have a bit of a chat, have a coffee, learn what each other's working on. And that environment of being around other people working just makes you so much more productive, and
I can imagine.
just helps you get stuff done and not feel like you're just working in isolation in a box at home.
And can people bring their toddlers or their babies with them to that?
So I really strongly believe in bringing your children with you and not hiding them at home, like in all of life. So you can bring 3 months to 4 years with you, and then there's some professional nannies on site that look after them.
And is that spread across your area?
So at the moment I run it in Teddington, Twickenham, Richmond and Esher.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And just looking to hopefully expand more into London and Surrey as well. But.
And socially for you, as well as networking business-wise, that must be amazing.
Yeah, I've met so many great people, and it's that keeps me going, because it's not easy running your own business at all. It's definitely not the easy option, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. Just getting
you've
to
made
meet
it work.
those
You've
people,
made not only did you find the right house, actually you've made the area work for you and the lifestyle that you're leading and aspire to it. It's an interesting story. I think it is. It's inspirational in itself. You were the average age of a first-time buyer at 33.
33, yeah.
But I think having returned from having so much fun travelling the world and living in Australia, but returning with the sole intention of, right, this is time, settle down, get serious, buy a house, life begins. You pulled it off.
We did, yeah.
In an expensive town, but you made it happen. Many congratulations.
Thank
I love
you very
it.
much. Thanks.